excited doesn't begin to describe how it feels to have your kid coming home for the summer, but it is a transition, and not just for them, but for everyone involved. If you're not on the same page from the very beginning, sometimes it's a rocky road, and that's the last thing anyone wants. That's what we're going to talk about today, and what worked for us when we had that conversation. Stay tuned till the very end, because I do have a couple fun announcements. Welcome to the Cook Who Can't Eat podcast, where chronic illness and family meet at home and in the kitchen. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad that you're here. The weather's warming, summer plans are being made, and another school year is coming to an end. Parents with our graduation goggles still firmly in place are excited at the idea of everything going back to normal when any of our older kids are coming home for the summer. Well, our older kids are packing up to come home with the expectation that the life that they have been building and creating for themselves will continue as it is, even while they're home. Eventually, these two unspoken expectations will meet, and well, it's not pretty. When a kid is coming home from college, military, mission, whatever, parents seem to fall into one of three categories. The first being that they believe that once their kid turns 18, they're an adult. Whatever they do, that's on them. The second group is the polar opposite, and these parents want the young adults and college kids to come home and be kids again, with rules and consequences and just the whole shebang. Finally, you have a group that somehow figured out how to make it work, and they find a balance that works for them. Ideally, we would all end up in this third group. However, that requires everyone to be on the same page from day one, which can be hard, especially when there are younger siblings at home. Before my daughter came home for the summer after her freshman year, we had a very open conversation. I explained that this is about mutual respect. I am not trying to treat her like a little kid. She was a legal adult, and the life that she's built for herself looks very different than the last time she lived with us full time, and we respected that. However, this is still our house, and there are younger siblings at home, so getting on the same page was really important. Once she realized that this conversation was focused on mutual respect and finding what that means to both sides, it went better than I could have ever imagined. And we were able to keep that dialogue open through her entire college experience. There are a lot of things you can bring up in this conversation, but on my agenda, there were 5 things: coming and going, communication, significant others, pitching in, and grace. Once these big topics were discussed, it always seemed like the little stuff just kind of fell into place. I'm going to share with you what worked and what failed for us, and at the end, I'm going to give you my secret sauce. First up, coming and going. Trust me on this. The first sentence should be something along the lines of, "This is not a curfew. We are not planning to give you a curfew." Well, I guess that can actually only be your first sentence if you're not going to give them a curfew. Then that's great, you do you. Anyway, these older kids are used to coming and going as they please and at all hours. So us trying to enforce or create a curfew really seemed to be at odds with the goal of reaching mutual respect. Instead, we told them that we would be setting the house alarm at a certain time. If they were going to come home after that, they needed to send us a message or something so we didn't panic when we heard someone trying to come in the door. We also discussed not coming and going during those late night hours. Other people live here, have to go to school, have to go to work, and we have dogs that like to bark anytime they see us. So if they come home at 2:30 in the morning, we do not expect them to then turn around and leave at 3. That would be disruptive for everyone in the house. I love it when you're going through this conversation, because as you're showing them how you're going to respect them, they're going to offer up ways that they're going to respect you. That first topic naturally led us into a discussion about open communication. We We don't need to know their every move, and they don't have to ask permission. However, a quick, I'm off to work, or hey, I'm going out with my friends tonight. I'm probably going to spend the night there. I'll see you tomorrow, is not only a sign of respect, it also lets us know where they are in case of an emergency. Plus, this type of communication is part of being a family. And in the end, isn't that what we're really asking of them? The conversation about significant others can get a little hard to navigate sometimes. In every part of our overall discussion, we try to keep things as flexible as we can, but not really on this one. Every house and family is different, and while they may be legal adults, the rules of our house remain the same. Significant others will not spend the night. If you're in your room, the door stays open, and if you're in your room, you're not together in bed, if you know what I mean. Finally, significant others must leave or be gone by the time we go to bed. While they may be allowed to do these things at their significant other's house or while they were in school, that doesn't mean that we had to change our rules at our house. In our home, those are the rules until they're married. It's not only a sign of respect to us, but it's helping us set and show good examples for the younger siblings, which is part of pitching in. This topic is not a list of chores. It's the basic and necessary contributions to the family and home where we all live. For example, if they want to make food, that's great, but they need to clean their dishes as soon as they're done. If they need to do laundry, they can't put a load in the washer and then leave for 2 days, making it impossible for anybody else to do their laundry. In the end, it comes down to the concept of clean up after yourself, because you're too old for me to be doing it for you. As for the contribution side of pitching in, if our kids are in school or working and doing whatever it is that they need to do to become fully functioning adults, we don't ask them to pay rent or utilities or even food. We do, however, ask them to help in other areas, like dropping siblings off at school, picking up a grocery order, or taking out the trash. It's just asking them to do a little bit to help and to do it with a positive attitude. Finally, we remind them that there is one linchpin that could potentially blow everything up. That's the younger siblings. While older kids have been out building this new life for themselves, the siblings have been doing the same thing just at home. They've been growing and stretching into this new life, and when the older one comes back, some of that stretching might have to shrink, and it's not always easy. Fights can ensue over bathroom time, parking, even how fast snacks disappear. While it might be an adjustment for your older one to be coming home, they need to remember that they have to give their siblings a little bit of grace to adjust as well. Taking the time to be on the same page in the same book will make everyone's transition a lot easier. However, it's not just the ones coming home you need to talk to. We found success with our older kids when we sat down and had this conversation with them. However, that approach with the younger siblings was a disaster. For them, we found several short conversations that started by just pointing out little areas that may have to change was a better way of going about it. Unfortunately, it's easy for siblings to feel pushed aside. It's so important to remind them that you're not trying to take anything away from them. You're just trying to make sure that everyone has the space they need. When you're discussing things that may be affected, like bathroom time, parking, sharing a bathroom, ask them if there are anything that they are worried about or concerned about. This way, they know that while things are going to change, what they want and what they think matters too. Are you ready for the secret sauce? It's made up of 2 ingredients, asking input and sibling day. Once we cover off what's on our agenda, I give them the floor. We ask both the older and the younger kids what concerns they have, what changes they would like to see, and how we can help. Their answers will blow your mind. Number 2 is a sibling outing. In the first week or so of them being home, we ask the older siblings to take the younger ones out. They could go bowling, hike, to an arcade, out for a fun dinner. It does not matter as long as they're doing it together. This gives them a chance to laugh and bond without interference, which makes that transition a lot easier on everyone. while you're running around trying to make sure that everybody has what they need and is taken care of. Don't forget to prepare yourself for these changes. Older kids coming home is so exciting, but you've changed your routines and habits as well. It's also more cooking, dishes, noise, people asking you questions. Before they're home, pay attention to your daily routine and habits to see where you might need to adjust. It's hard watching our kids grow up. And when they're at school, semester abroad, military, whatever, it's so easy to let graduation goggles romanticize everything, but that's not life. Life requires living, and living is messy. Be messy with them. It's the best way to prevent things from falling apart or falling through the cracks. They say 75% of all your parent-child time is done by the time your kid turns 12. At 18, 90% of that time is spent. If that's true, and I really hope it's not, the last thing anyone would want to do is spend that remaining 10% of time on anything other than loving and enjoying their kid. Thank you for being here, my friend. I can't begin to explain how much it means to me that you spend a little time with me each week. My chronic illnesses can feel lonely and isolating, but through the podcast and other social channels, I've been able to connect with so many others walking the same path. And while I wouldn't wish this on anyone, it's wonderful to know that none of us have to do this alone. With that in mind, I've decided to make a few changes. I love the cook who can't eat, and that's going to continue with recipes and some other fun things coming up. However, the podcast is getting a new name. We will now be the Well Blended Life podcast, because that's what we're talking about. All the pieces that blend together to make up our life. I'm really excited about this, and I hope you'll join me. Take care of yourself, my friend. I'll see you soon. Accessibility matters, so every podcast episode is available on your favorite platform and as a video with captions on YouTube.